Sounds good. We'll go ahead and call to order the April 15th, 2026 North Range NPO TAC meeting to order here. And so we'll go through welcome and introductions. And I'll just go ahead and start with myself. I'm Evan Pinkham with Weld County.
Becky Carrasco, the North Range NPO. Adrienne Torres, with the Building Services.
Dana Horncole with the City of Fort Collins.
Eric Tracy with Liberty County.
Aaron Wolf, NPO.
Kelsey with our NPO.
Jerome Rouser with the NPO. Sheldon Stockburg with the NPO.
Tiny Tripper.
Drew Pearson with Little City Company.
Denise Stanley with Weld County.
All right, and then who we have online?
Janie Porter, Town of Severance.
Josie Thomas, CDOT Region 4.
West 18.
Lisa Joyner at the MPO.
Hannah Feldman with the City of Greeley.
Michaela Graham with the MPO.
Spencer York, CDOT DTD.
Kevin Coble, Town of Milliken.
Moore, Regional Air Quality Council.
Eric Patton, City of Fort Collins Transport.
Brendan Ciccione, CPHE.
Scott Pearson, Town of Windsor.
All right, anyone else online that wants to introduce themselves?
Tim Host, Town of Johnstown.
All right, I think we got everybody. So we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item number 2, which is public comment. Give a chance for anyone that wants to give public comment. We'll allow for 2 minutes each. So, any public comment? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the March 18th, 2026 meeting minutes. I'll ask for a motion on those meeting minutes that are in the packet.
You approve the meeting minutes from March.
Is there a second? Second. So go ahead, all in favor of approving the March 18, 2026 meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. Then opposed, say nay. All right, very good. We've got those meeting minutes approved, and we'll move on to Lead Planning Agency Air Quality Agenda. And we'll move on to item number 4, which is the RAC updates with Tom Moore. Tom, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you very much. I just have a real brief oral report. We held our Control Strategy Committee meeting today, third Wednesday of the month, as we always do. We highlighted a few things that are work products that are coming out over the next 2 to 3 months. We gave an update on our health impacts white paper project. So there's a few slides on that. If you all want to look at it, I'll stick the link to the meeting in the chat here. We're evaluating the control strategies right now to rank their impact on ozone. So that's another work product that's coming out in the June timeframe. And we're going to be holding some workshops this summer on looking further at the control strategies that are in our current blueprint, mid-June, mid-July, and then one near the end of July. And we'll be getting announcements out about those soon. We're going to mostly stick to reporting on these work products as they're completed. We're not going to be talking in great detail about every step along the way. So, participation in the workshops that we're going to hold and that kind of thing is our goal for all of our external community like you folks, if you want to get plugged in on that. So I'll put the link to today's meeting in there if folks want to look at those slides, and I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
All right, very good. Any questions for Tom? All right, thanks, Tom. We'll move on to agenda item number 5, which is the Air Pollution Control Division updates. We got Brendan.
Everyone. I have a quick update from the Air Pollution Control Division today. Some updates from the Air Quality Control Commission meetings. Last month, the commission didn't meet, so no updates on any public hearings there. But for April, they'll be meeting starting today through the 17th. With one rulemaking hearing regarding regulations number 24, 26, and 30 on toxic air contaminants. Here, the commission will consider revisions to these regulations to address these priority toxic air contaminants and control strategies for those toxic air contaminants. Those are all the updates I have.
Brendan, any questions for Brendan on the APCD update? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the MPO agenda here. Into our action items, we've got agenda item number 6, which is the active transportation plan with Jerome.
Great, thank you. So the active transportation plan had been out of public comment since March 20th, and that public comment period will close on April 20th. For this plan, it was a 31-day public comment period because it would have ended on Sunday the 19th. But since that's not a work day, we extended it out to April 20th. So far, we've only received 5 comments, and none of those comments were anything that drastically changed what is in the plan. Those comments include some recommendations for the vision plan, so some updates for that one particular CSU, what they like to include in the vision plans that go through their jurisdiction. We got some comments on word choice and asked some questions around that, and then some comments with a few recommendations for action steps that would be rather minor edits, I would say. In terms of next steps, we are looking for planning council adoption in May. And then if we do get any public comment that would drastically change the content of the plan, we would delay adoption to address that. But so far, we have not gotten any comment that would suggest that that would happen. But there's still 5 more days, we'll see.
Very good. All right, are there any questions for Jerome on the active transportation plan? All right, then I'll ask for a motion on this one here.
Motion to adopt and recommend the active transportation plan of 2022.
And a second? All right, sounds good. So all in favor of approving the active transportation plan, say aye. Aye. Now, all opposed, say nay. All right, with that, we'll move the active transportation plan forward with approval. Recommendation of approval, and we'll move on to our second agenda item, which is the April 2026 TIP amendment. Jonathan.
Hello, everyone. The April 2026 TIP amendment includes 4 project additions and 1 project modification from various agencies. To start, we are adding the 3 Safe Streets for All projects from Fort Collins, Greeley, and Loveland. We are adding these projects to our TIP because all 3 include demonstration elements. Fort Collins has 925,006 SS4 funding and 266,485 local funding in fiscal year 2026.
We have 7,917,600 SS4A and 2,020,400 local funding in fiscal year 26. And Loveland has 369,000 SS4A and 99,000 local funding in fiscal year 26. The other project addition is from Fort Collins with the project Shield Street Separated Bike Lanes. This project features 580,000 local Fort Collins Climate Projects tax funding in fiscal year 26. This project has separated bike lanes on Shield Street from Mountain Avenue to Mulberry Street. The project modification is from CDOT Region 4 with the project US 287 median safety Berkeley South. This modification shifts 2,036,250 of federal discretionary funding from fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 26 and adds an additional 12,438,750 of the discretionary funding to fiscal year 26. This also has 1,354,995 federal HSIP funding to fiscal year 26 and 2,748,165 HSIP funding to fiscal year 27. For state faster funding, there's 1,445,840 added to fiscal year 26, 2,400,000 added to fiscal year 27, and 4,699,000 to fiscal year 28, which is also future funding in this version of the tip. Two reminders for everyone. We were reminded last week by FHWA that we need to include any discretionary grants into the tip. So if you receive those, please send those to us. And then also, if a project is located on our RSC, one of our RSCs, please also send this project to us and see if it warrants inclusion into the tip, even if it is all local funding. The public comment period opened on April 15th and will close on May 16th. An environmental and demographic impact analysis was conducted for the Fort Collins Shield project, and that will be found with the handouts. NFRMPO staff noted no disadvantages and support adding the April 2026 TIP amendment to the fiscal year 24 through 27 TIP.
Any questions for Jonathan on this? All right, then I'll ask for a motion on the April 2026 TIP amendment.
Recommendation to support adding the April 2026 amendment to the 2024-2027 TIP.
All right, very good. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and with that, so all in favor of moving this forward here, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed, say nay. All right, with that, we'll move the April 2026 TIP amendment forward. The recommendation of approval. And we'll move on to presentations. We've got the mobility services update with Adriana Torres.
Okay, thank you everyone for having me.
For a second.
I'm here to tell you a little bit more about VIA Mobility Services and the service we provide in the Will County area. Our founding mission is to promote independence and self-sufficiency for people with limited mobility by providing caring, customer-focused transportation options. We want to be there for the people that need us the most. When you partner with VIA Mobility Services, you don't just gain a transportation provider, right? We're not only just providing that shuttle service, that public transit, you also gain a distinct benefit with that. Here are a few that I included, but the most important one I think for us is that the public dollars are going to remain in the community. So the money that we do receive from the revenue and grants and funding that we get helps us expand our affordable and accessible transportation to those who are the most vulnerable in our community. We are also there for our communities when a natural disaster hits a moment of crisis. We are second responders. In fact, we were able to evacuate people in 2013 for the floods. We were there for people during the Marshall wildfires in 2022. The help doesn't just stop when we evacuate people. We were there for the community after the fact. In 2022, people had to leave their homes, had nowhere to go. We were there to take them to the shelters. We were also there after the fact where the community members came together, donated food, donated heaters, and we were able to give that back, not just to the people that were affected by the wildfire, but also to the ODM call center, who had been working for hours without a break. We were there to give them food, water, everything that they needed. For crisis, we have a 12-acre Boulder campus that has been used for many different crises. I'm not sure if any of you guys remember, but in 2021, Boulder had a shooting in Supers. Unfortunately, that morning, one of our writers, we took her to work, and she was one of the victims. We were never able to bring her back. So during this time, we opened our facility for the family of the people who lost their loved ones during this awful shooting. And we provided counseling. We also had law enforcement there for support and to make them feel safe after that shooting happened. We have a lot more benefits on here that I definitely spent a lot of time on that, but I thought it would just be easier to provide you guys with a QR code. This links straight to our website that shows you everything that we provide to the communities, as well as other stories that we have. VMability was founded in 1979, so we went to a little nonprofit that only served Boulder. We served those people who were older adults, people with disabilities, and also individuals with limited income. Fast forward to now, we are still a nonprofit. We went from special transit to via mobility services, and we serve 8 counties across Colorado. So again, going from a very small Boulder-based transportation company to now a multi-county service provider that starts from paratransit, being our family mission services, to fixed route and microtransit. The service that we provide in Weld County is paratransit. We are there for our Weld County residents, provide service, door-through-door service to people who are 60 plus, have a disability, limited mobility, or even if you just have a temporary disability. So you fell, broke an arm, we will be there for you. We do ask that everybody gets registered before we can provide transportation. You can give us a call at 303-444-3043, where one of our mobility specialists can get you registered. It takes about 10 minutes over the phone. We get all your demographic information, and we'll also provide you with alternative transportation options in case you need. How it started. So via Mobility Services partner up with the NFRMPO, and we started the Ride Local pilot program. This service operated from August 2021 through February 2022, sorry. We ran Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And we were serving different communities. As you can see here, we have Berthoud, Meade, Johnstown, Milliken, Gilchrist, Pattville, and Fort Lupton. Riders could go anywhere within this area as well as Boulder County. This was all possible due through some funding that we received with 5311. We knew that there was a need, especially in the rural communities, so we partnered with the MPO to make that happen. And of course, that funding was limited, so we did end it in February of 2022. But in August 1st of 2023, we started the service again. And now this service is possible due to the partnership with Via Mobility Services, the North Front Range MPO, the Upper Front Range Transportation Planning Region, the Weld County Board of County Commissioners, and local communities. As well, riders can call in, get registered. We provide door-through-door service. We take them from their home to where they need to go, as well as connecting them to regional transit services, including the bus stand and Dial-A-Ride. Now we are Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and we have 2 buses in service. This is all the area that we now cover. So we go all the way up to Nunn. If you're a resident from Nunn, all the way down to Hudson, Kingsburg. And all this blue area is a destination area that people can go to. So we go all the way up to Cheyenne, north if they need to go to the VA hospital, and all the way south to 120th. We've taken people to Broomfield to get PT. Currently, we have a writer who's going to the children's hospital to visit one of their family members who has been there for quite some time. So we're taking them there so that they can be close to their family members. And here's how the ridership is going so far. You can see how the riders are going everywhere where this service can really cross those county lines, right? In 2023, we completed 555 trips. And in 2024, that jumped to 2,741 trips. This was also from August 1st to December 31st. We expanded the service with the 3rd bus that was funded again by our 5311 rural grant that we received. And in 2025, that went up to 3,095 trips. This is also including weekend trips that was supported by a grant that we received by the Colorado Association of Transit Agencies. CASTA, love our acronyms. And it was due to the Zero Fare Paratransit service grant that we received. The weekend service ran from June 1st to August 31st. The biggest difference that we saw here is that during the week, riders really wanted to take care of their medical appointments, go to dialysis, go grocery shopping. But then on the weekends, they were able to socialize a lot more. People were going to the movies. People were meeting their friends for lunch. So it definitely gave them more ability to socialize with their loved ones. And now we have registered 223 riders as of March 12th of 2020. And I know it's all great, right? We're providing all of these trips, but we're also still seeing how much a service like this is needed by our community. On this slide, you'll see here that call data that the NPO has received. As you can see, this is in 2024. So we have a lot of calls that were coming in from Fort Collins, Loveland, Greeley, Longmont, Berthoud, Johnstown, Eaton. Some of these calls that we received in 2024 were from areas that Via Mobility Services does provide service. So that was easy. We were transferring them over to Via Mobility, 10-minute registration, they would get registered and they could start scheduling a trip. But we were still seeing some other areas that we don't provide service that we're still getting calls. If you go to the next one. So in 2025, that did change, but now we're also seeing calls coming in from Windsor, Severance, Wellington, Meade, Alt, which I'm sure that Alt one ended up being transferred back to Via. But again, the service is very much needed by the community members, and they need to get to places. Here are some rider stories that we have heard, and I'm sure that we can spend hours talking about everything that we have heard from our community members, but here's just a handful of them. We received a call from a resident in Severance who needs recurring transportation to dialysis. A Windsor family who's planning ahead so that their parent can give up their keys and no longer drive, but they still want to know what is out there for them to be able to continue to be social. The most important part for them is to be able to go to church and go to the senior center. We have an Eaton resident who also needs transportation to medical appointments in Greeley and Windsor, and a Greeley resident who needs transportation to Fort Collins but does not qualify for Medicaid and Medicare and lives unfortunately outside of our current services for VIA. And Aaron was really nice at also printing out 20 other more studies of people who really need the service but cannot afford the ride, right? We can refer them to Z-Trip, we can refer them to Lyft, Uber and all that. A lot of it is not affordable. Here's a graph of all the calls that we have received. The data includes 2026. So we can see that we're still getting calls from Evans, LaPorte, Meade, Windsor, Wellington. That still continues to, we're still continuing to get those calls. And I don't see them slowing down again because people still need that transportation service. The ways that you're able to join with us. So the funding, we have a diverse funding. We get funding from the Will County participating municipalities, the MMOF funds, the federal section 5311 rural transit funding. And of course, if you would like to join the Will County services, that contribution is based out of the town's population size. If you want more information on that, Evan can definitely help you with that. But also, we have other towns like Carbon Valley, that includes Frederick, Firestone, and Dacono, that have their own service outside of this Will County. So if you know that your community is in much need of this type of service, you can definitely contract with VIA, and we can make something work for you. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions for me?
All right, any questions for Adrienne?
I guess, kind of maybe it's a silly question, but, are you all the kind of main proprietor of these services in this area? I mean, there's no other, service that does this?
That provides door-to-door
Yeah.
transit
Yeah,
transportation. I mean, we have 60 plus rides that provides transportation similar to us. The area is much smaller. The difference between us and other providers that are doing something like this is that we're crossing those county lines, right? We're taking people all the way to Cheyenne. We're taking people all the way to Broomfield, and as I mentioned, just to see their loved ones, visit them at the hospital.
All right, any additional questions? All right, very good. Thank you, Adrienne.
Thank you so much.
All right, sounds good. We'll go over to the discussion items. Agenda item number 9. That's the get CNG replacement and expansion bus purchases project scope change. And we have Greeley Evans Transit staff. We'll move forward then. That'll be for next month. Get ahead of myself there. Then we'll move on to Connected Communities 2055, the RTP vision statement, goals and objectives.
Thank you all. So that's a different item. This is the memo. So while you pull that up, this is part of the goals, objectives, performance measures, and target process for the Connected Communities 2055 RTP. From here on out, I'm just going to say RTP for the sake of time. So with each plan at the beginning of the process, we establish a vision statement, goals, objectives to help guide development of the RTP.
Page 10.
Thank you. So this is the first part of the GOPMT. With this process, we did an internal review and had internal staff review and comment to get to this point after a few meetings to discuss this internally. And now we're at the point where we bring it to you all for edits, suggestions, comments. So we can begin with the vision statement. So the proposed vision statement is connect northern Colorado communities through a safe, efficient, and integrated multimodal transportation system that supports vibrant communities, is environmentally sensitive, and strengthens our region's quality of life and long-term economic vitality. And then these 5 goal areas are not ranked in any particular order. That is something that we can do if there is interest from TAC and or council. But as of right now, there's kind of put on there in a random order. I do believe for the last RTP, we did rank these. So that's something that we could do again. So the first goal area is safety, and the objective is improve safety for all users of the transportation system, with the focus on protecting vulnerable populations and working toward the elimination of serious injuries and fatalities. Goal area 2 is health and environment, with the objective of reduce the transportation system's impact on regional air quality by promoting sustainable travel options, improving system efficiency, and supporting environmentally responsible infrastructure in the region. Goal area 3 is transportation choice, with the objective provide safe, convenient access to a variety of transportation options that meet the diverse needs of all users. Goal area 4 is operations and efficiency, with the objective of optimize system performance through coordinated planning, data-driven decision-making, and the integration of smart technologies to reduce congestion and improve travel reliability. And then the final goal area is economic development, with the objective of support regional economic development by funding multimodal transportation connections to key destinations, supporting efficient freight movement, and improving access to jobs, services, and markets. So with that, I open the floor for any comments or questions.
Any questions for Jerome?
Hey, Jerome, I have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
I'm just curious. So for these goal areas, will there be any kind of like benchmarking or performance indicators or metrics associated with each goal area once they've been established?
That depends on how the conversation goes on the regional performance measures, but usually the regional performance measures do align with the goals. So yes, we just don't know how that's going to look like until we work through the regional performance measures to determine what those measures are.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, any additional questions? All right, we'll move on to the Connected Communities 2055 RTP RATP.
Oh, is that what you were gonna-
Yeah, sorry. No, you're fine. RTP, RATCs, RTCs, and RSCs with Jerome and Beck. A lot of stuff going on.
So I'll kick this off. We had a workshop that was hybrid, so thank you to the folks that came to our office, as well as those who participated online back on April 6th. Thank you for coming on a Monday morning to the MPO office. And it was a lot warmer this time, so than it was the previous. So what we did was we're going to go to the next slide, just to talk through the agenda here. So we'll talk about region significant corridor criteria, which is RSCs. Briefly touch on the regional active transportation corridors, or RATCs. Talk about the regional transit corridors, RTCs, and then we'll talk about the region significant corridors and the next steps. So next slide. So what are RSCs? Our RSCs are roadway corridors that meet the criteria that you see here on our screen. So it's all of our interstates within the region, so that's just one. All of our US highways, all of our state highways, as well as any local corridors that communities feel are regionally significant and meet these criteria. So they're also eligible to receive federal aid, which is in our calls for projects. They cross more than one jurisdiction, or they connect to an activity center. So that could be a university like CSU or UNC. It could be a large employment center. It could be the airport, things like that. They will be completed by 2055 if they are not already built or if they are not fully complete. And then they serve regional traffic. The next slide will break that down. This breaks it down into those 4 different categories I mentioned. So we have interstate highways, we have our US highways, our state highways, and then our local. And so this just shows the breakdown and how many are within each of those categories. The only one that is ranked right now in any sort of order
the US highways, we have 34 and 34 business as the top priority. That's on state highways, we have State Highway 392 and State Highway 14. Those two roads are at the top because those were two of the 6 priority corridors for the 10-year priority list of projects. And going through that exercise of scoring and ranking, 392 rose to the top due to the safety issues. So that is why those 3 different corridors are where they are on this list. And we can speak to, if we want to rank those at another time. Right now, we're just talking about these are the corridors. But we'll move on. We'll talk more about RSCs in a couple of agenda items, but I'm going to hand it over to Jerome to talk through the RITCs.
Next slide. So just very briefly giving an overview on the RITCs. So this is the RITC map that is in the active transportation plan, and we will be carrying that forward into the RTP. So major changes that we've seen from the RITC map that is in the 2050 RTP versus what will be in the 2055 RTP is our very first addition to the RITC networks and creating this network in 2013, and that is RITC number 13, which the coloring here is kind of hard to differentiate on this screen, but that is the corridor that starts in Johnstown and continues along Will County Road 17, north into Windsor, and then stays on State Highway 257 up to State Highway 14 in Severance. The other major change we've seen is the extension of RTC number 8 on BNSF Fort Collins to Berthoud, and that is continuing the alignment north of its current northern terminus at the Cuda River Trail and extending it up into the town of Wellington. We also did have some other minor alignment changes for RTC number 2, Little Thompson River, as well as RTC number 11, US 34 parallel. I do want to note with number 11, in previous plans, it was called US 34 non-motorized. It has been referred to as US 34 parallel in the ATP, and we anticipate continuing to call it US 34 parallel in the RTP as well. That slide. And then this just spells out the names. Next slide, please. So now we can discuss the regional transit corridors. So on this map, we did make some changes based off of the comments we received during the RSC workshop. The first change we did was change the categories. So we are proposing moving forward to have the categories be current manufacturer rail, existing service, future transit service, and regional service. And then of course we have new. The new ones, those are ones that are proposed based off of the RSC discussion. And on this map, as well as the RSC map, corridors that were proposed to be added are given a number, so B and C. Next slide, please. So we do have that right now. So RTCB is State Highway 402 from Loveland to Evans. This was a corridor that was identified in the NFRMPO Phase 1 study, where there was, I believe, 17 different potential transit corridors that are identified before those were whittled down to the 3 corridors that moved forward in that study. So this was one of those corridors, and then RTCC, that is along Colorado Boulevard, beginning in Johnstown and ending at Will County Road 74. This was another corridor that came from the League NOCO study. Next slide, please. And this is the study, the Link NOCO study, and the 17 corridors that were discussed. These corridors were pulled out and included in the RTC based off of comments we received at the RSC workshop. So with the RTCs, we do have a few questions. So first one is, are there any transit corridors that are missing that we have not included? Well, that's pretty much the question. Is there anything we're missing that was not included? And then for the Link NOCO, RTC 1, 2, and 3 also came from the Link NOCO study, but those are the three corridors that were advanced further for further consideration in the study that came out of that as recommendations. So So the two new ones were from that same study, but those did not move forward the additional screening. If there are concerns, we can go on to next item.
So region of significant importance are RFCs. So just as a reminder, these are the RFCs that are in the current RTP. So this is the 2050 RTP. We have 30 RFCs, and they are shown there on the map. The north to south corridors are red and the east to west are shown in blue. So these are all of the ones that we have, and the dashed lines show those connections that are not complete and will be complete now and will be completed by the out year of the plan, which is 2050. Was there a comment or a question?
Yes, there was a question on the RTC. So Shani asked, why is there a line for a new transit service versus future transit service? What is the difference? That was an error on the map. That was an edit that we did not catch till now. So new, that was supposed to be proposed service. So the difference is future transit service, our current RTCs are not, that do not currently exist. New is referring to the proposed services that are not currently in RTC, but was recommended for additional considerations to be added to the network.
So a new RTC for this version of the map, or this iteration. Yeah.
But we will edit this map for future meetings to make that more clear.
So these are the 30 that we have, and these are all of them together, like I had on a few slides back at the beginning, showing the different categories that we have. Next slide. So at the workshop on April 6th, we had one new proposed RFC, so that's RCA, and then two expansions, one to RSC 18, too many acronyms, and one to RSC 28. So 28 is prospect. So that was to expand it all the way to RSC 11, which is 257, Sam 257, to the east, and then to the west to Taft Hill, which is RSC 18. And then the other expansion was to expand 18, so Taft Hill, which is got many names. So it's Larimer County Road 19, Taft Hill, and Wilson, to expand it all the way to 13, RSC 13, which is 402 Freedom Park. And those extensions made sense. And they connect through multiple jurisdictions as well as two other RSCs that already exist. And then the new proposed one is First Street, Larimer County Road 20E to and then it comes around Reagan Boulevard, and it goes from Taft Hill, or I'm sorry, it's Wilson in Loveland, to 214.
No, that's one.
Larimer County Road 3, or both County Road 9. So that's where A jogs through, and it goes in Loveland, Larimer, and Johnson. So are there any additional RFCs or additional expansions that anyone sees? Natural. And this is zoomed in because this is the only place where the recommendations were, so yeah.
We've had some discussions wondering if we might consider extending Douglas Road from Highway 1 over to Giddings. Currently, it's a part of RSC 17.
The north to south there? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it includes that little tail of Doug. So at the very top end of 17, there's this 1 mile section of Douglas Road, goes to Highway 1. We're considering extending that from Highway 1 over to Giddings.
Which is 16, or is it the one?
Yeah, 16.
To 16?
Yeah.
Are there any Does anyone have any issues with that or? Anything? I think that makes sense. We can add that.
I don't know if there's any Windsor folks on the call, but I think extending or connecting, I guess, 11 and 20 through Windsor might make sense. So be counting at 17, and then through Windsor, it's, I think, 7, then up to 257.
Does it go along the free?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
There's also 13 alignment, or RETC 13 alignment as well. And it looks like we do have,
I guess, is there any reason why those were two separate?
because it, 257 runs concurrently with 392, and then continues in the south leg, so that whole border includes that concurrency.
Oh, because 11, oh, I see that.
It looks like Scott's on.
Is there, been a suggestion to connect 20, RC 20 to 11 through Windsor, as opposed to being on that jog of 257. Does that make sense? Is there an issue with that?
What road is 20 following?
Well, kind of a 17.
17? Yeah, so that
Yeah.
would continue up through our 7th Street. Yeah, I think that would be okay to connect 20 and 11. Would the proposal like renumber the other portion of 257 that's existing there? Like, does 20 just connect from 14 down to 60 or 11? I mean, what kind of numbering change?
It might become, well, they could have the same alignment, they would just have two separate numbers because 257 does jog over and shoot them. And it's not the same
Yeah.
alignment. Yeah. So we could make that 20 maybe, up into 392.
Okay,
And then
Yeah.
do them 11.
and then north of 392 just continues as 11,
Yeah,
along with the other existing portion of 257 there.
yeah.
I think we would be open to that and in favor of it. We have a number of significant projects planned along 7th Street, County Road 17 that I think would benefit the network and could potentially make us eligible for future grant opportunities, which would help implement those projects for sure.
Thank you. Are there any other? Or are there some that TAC members feel shouldn't be? Those could exist. I don't know.
Yeah. This one.
Yeah, clarification question on this one. Maybe the Johnstown label for obscuring it. Where's the eastern terminus? Does it terminate downtown Johnstown or on Parish Ave?
14 and 14.
14, it terminates 14. Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
And we will take this to the council for them to weigh in on, and then we'll bring it back with any recommendations or edits before we take it as a, if there are significant ones, before we bring it back as a recommendation or an action. And I think The next thing is next steps, unless there's any other questions. If there aren't, then our next step, so bring it back in May to incorporate all these changes that everyone has mentioned and with new maps to show those alignments. I think it would be a good idea to bring each of those proposed corridors and proposed expansions as it's as zoomed in so everyone can see where those connections are, make sure we didn't miss anything. Take it to council in June for their discussion, bring it back in July for recommendation, and then council adoption in August. And then just a heads up for the RSCs. So for all of them, for RICs, RATCs, and RTCs, for the RTP, bring those vision plans back for TAC discussion in March of 2027. And unless there are any other questions or comments, that is,
Yeah, this might just be semantics, but with the RTCs and the like BRT light. Is that a technical term, or is that a term that we made up?
that's a term that we're going to be using in the US 34 transit study that's still being updated. So it's not like BRT like the maxes, but it's BRT in that it's a similar type of service, but it doesn't have its own separate right of way. So that's why it's BRT light. It has those features, but without being a separate facility.
And does that like align with how FHWA and FTA define like a BRT, or is there any, I guess?
No, not with how it's defined in school.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a better term or there's something else.
I guess I
Update the wording to be regional service. Then we update the wording for BRT like it's just regional service.
What's up your two words?
It did.
The BRT light in the table.
Yeah.
And
Oh, in the table, yes, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Oh, yes, that was not, that is regional service. I can see where the confusion is.
Yeah, and I mean, this is maybe just a personal thing where like BRT is BRT, and then anything that's not BRT is not BRT. But I think also just like defining what that actually means for that would be helpful. Of like.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to outside partner reports. We've got the NOCO Bike and Ped Collaborative. That's a written report in the handouts. We've got the regional transit agencies with Joshua Ma.
So, for us, we went over our optimization process at the last meeting, but that's the only update there is we're starting to build the infrastructure so we can hopefully get the first phase implemented in August and then starting some of the new service pieces in May. Greeley is also looking at somewhat of a similar process, going through an optimization study, facing budget pressures. And they're working on redesigning their routes. The US 34 project, the new route between Greeley and Loveland, they're looking to push back in January to the facilitation, along that route, and major construction along the corridor currently. But they're trying to push back to January 2027. They're also rebranding, I think, their service. I don't know if that one, anybody, but I'm pretty here.
Trevor's on them.
Between Gallup and Noco Motors. You have communication there. And then they're also looking at changes to the Purdue Express. They're looking at lowering frequency. They lost the funding that's supposed to that program. And the ridership is not justifying the frequency currently. And then on our end for the Purdue Express, we might look at a different location for the stop at CSU. I'll come back with an update this summer. For Colt, the Wink route, which is kind of a flex replacement, that route is doing well. They're averaging about 2,500 to 2,800 rides per month currently, and they're looking to increase frequency on Route 1 in July, help connections.
Very good. Any questions for Joshua? Seeing none, we'll move on to mobility updates with finance.
We've been pretty busy on our end. It's really exciting. We're about 90% done with the website. We're just finishing up some wording and sending in some updated pictures. So hopefully by next month, we'll be able to give you all a presentation of what our website looks like, our new website. We're also diversifying our funding sources. So we've received 2 grants to update and implement some new things to our platform to provide NOCO. One of them being a closed loop referral service or a referral platform. So if an outside agency or provider's office or, even a community member wants to make a referral, they'll be able to do that once it's sent off from our end. Currently, we never know if they get the ride. If they may not. If they call us back because they didn't get the ride, that's the only way we can track it. But this will actually be a closed loop service. So it'll really help us provide better resources and information to individuals. But I'm really excited about the front end of the referral service. So we'll really be able to work with our community and collaborate with doctor's offices and providers and other large organizations and companies that see a need for individuals that need rights. So we're excited about that expansion and also automating some of the work that's done. So right now, everybody needs to call in, but we're going to have a referral form on our website, as well as, like, hopefully in the future, an app where an individual can do a self-referral for a ride, and we'll be able to get back to them, but that will come directly into the service. So we're really excited about the new opportunities with our platform to help more individuals, and then I'm sure my team will share some of the other things we're working on.
Oh, round table. Very good. All right, any questions for Tanya? All right, we'll move on to reports. We've got the April Planning Council meeting summary draft. It's a written report. North Front Range NPO Air Quality Program updates, written report. The 2026 Colorado legislative updates, that's also a written report. We've got the first quarter 2026 HIP modifications, also a written report. Mobility committees, written report. Now that just brings us down to the roundtable. We'll start over this way with the interim. Do you want to go through that?
Sure. The only thing that's coming to mind is that we have our community Q&A for Farmers Capacity Rail tomorrow night at the Podium Building at 5:30. So stakeholder meeting.
Yes. We had our first stakeholder meeting last week that went very well. I was also late today because I had another meeting about that. Yeah, and we do have a website for our station area planning project now. That's TalkLoveland/FRPR station. So any of the updates about that will be there.
For Fort Collins, we started work on 3 signal projects, 2 replacements and 1 new signal. The 2 replacements are at College in Pitkin and College in Columbia. The new signal is at College in Triangle, where there's a temp signal right now.
Yeah, I have a few updates. So, Bike to Work Day is coming up. The NPO has created a webpage for it on our website. I think it's live, right, John? Yes, it's live. So if you want to get regional information on Bike to Work Day, we have a landing spot. It has information about all the communities who are hosting Bike to Work Day events. And it's just kind of a regional landing page now, as well as we're creating a regional challenge for the month of June. We'll be working, we have a small working group of different individuals helping with that. And we're creating a web page for that, but I don't think it's live yet. That one's not live. No, that one's not live. Once it's live, I can send out information to everyone and more details I can bring back next month about the summer challenge. If anyone was on the presentation, I gave a presentation to Larimer County and citizens and different individuals. John Mallow was there, some other people were there, just about transportation in the MPO. So I think anyone who was able to show up and learn about what we do. And then just a few plugs. If you're interested in getting anyone in your community involved in the mobility committee or just getting more involved in mobility, please reach out to me and I can let you know a little more information about that, as well as our regional TDM working group or just group in general. Those are the people that have been helping me with our regional challenges, and we do meet on a quarterly basis and go to different municipalities, kind of learn what we're doing when it comes to TDM. We'll be in Loveland next quarter, so thank you, Anna Rose, for helping us with that. As well as at the upcoming CASTA meeting, I'll be helping as part of the MPO, but with other regional transportation planning agencies like RAPTA and Pikes Peak will be running a mobility summit to bring all the regional agencies together and talk with citizens and local officials at the upcoming conference about gaps and services that we can hear from different disadvantaged communities and how we can learn from that. So it's kind of the first of its mobility summit, similar to the transportation summit that they do. And then lastly, I'll steal this from the Caleb Jerome, they're going to talk about it, but we do have some 3 outreach events for the MPO coming up. We have this Saturday, the Foothills Market, and then we have CSU Earth Day. We'll be at that, and then we'll be at the Timnit Touch a Truck. So that's it.
So first of all, I want to thank the people, community members who actually went to the TAC web map and reviewed it. But if you haven't done it yet, then Friday 17th is the last day for your comments. So I would appreciate if you go and review the TAC boundaries to let us know that if there is any TACs which have diverse kind of land uses, so that will be helpful for us to get the accurate projection from our Transcat model. So that's it for me.
So for me, we're currently working on the RTP logo. I'm hoping to have that ready by the next TAC meeting. And then there are 2 bills that are currently not in the legislative report because they were introduced after it went to council, that will have significant impacts on our region and local agencies. I want to bring those to your attention. The first bill is House Bill 26-1399, named Eliminate General Fund Transfer to MMOF Fund. So what this bill would do is remove the $10.5 million general fund transfer it did pass the House with no amendments, but there was a Senate amendment in the Senate Appropriations Committee that limits that elimination to just this budget cycle instead of indefinitely. That amendment did pass and will be added to the bill when it goes to the Senate floor. It still does have to go back to the House and the House have to agree, so still watching out for that, but that amendment did pass, which is great. But that bill looks like it's moving very quickly. It was introduced in early April and it already got out of the House and it's on, I believe it was moved out of appropriations onto the Senate floor. The second bill is similar to House Bill 26-1398, and that is retail delivery fee revenue allocation. What this does is this changes the retail delivery fee revenue allocation that goes to the MMOF. So currently, how that distribution works, 80% of those funds go towards the local pot and 20 goes to the state. What this bill would do is change the allocation to have it where 70% of that goes to local projects and 30 goes to the state. So that's a 15-point difference, with 15% being removed from the local pot and moved into the state pot. That bill is also moving rather quickly. It did pass out of the House and it was moved onto the Senate floor. And that bill, last I saw, had no amendments. So this will be included in the upcoming legislative report that goes into the May Planning Council packet. And I will be sure to have those be up at the top, since those are the current bills have the most impact to the region. And I can keep you all updated as that moves forward. And that's all I have.
All right. Before the next TAC meeting, we'll get an email to review the PIP, public development plan. Please look at that when you get a chance. I'll get it 45 days. It will be a TAC discussion or action item, June. Then we recently confirmed our changes to the NFRMPO logo and color palette. If you ever need us, if we have our logo on your website or you need it for any reason, you can reach out to myself or any NFRMPO staff member, and we'd be happy to send it your way.
Yeah, nothing for me.
Yeah, two things. So on our website, on our front page, there is a link to a comment form regarding the certification review. So that we have coming up. So every 4 years, we have to have a quadrennial review to be recertified as an NPO. So that's something that MHWA and FTA conduct. So there is a comment form there. If you are interested in providing comments, is open through May 1st. And then our certification review itself will take place on April 29th.
All right, anyone online? Roundtable.
Hi, it's Lisa with the MPO. I've got some call center updates. So year-to-date calls we've received 190 so far this year, which is a 71% increase from last year. And website visits are at 3,823, which is a 120% increase from last year. Excuse me. This month I have presented to Disabled Resource Services. We had about 10 people in attendance there. They're a really good resource for us to reach out to as well. And yesterday I was at the Health and Community Resource Fair in Johnstown, and I talked with about 56 people. So had a really good turnout there. And I just wanted to mention a few things, kind of tacking on to Adriana's great presentation, that there's other nonprofit ride providers in the area that are really specialized. So like the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery will give free transportation to cancer-related appointments. There's Qualified Listeners that operates in most of northern Colorado that provides transportation to veterans and their families. And then over here in Larimer County, we've got Saint, who serves Fort Collins and Loveland, and Raft, which serves the Berthoud Fire Protection District. And then if someone is a Medicaid recipient, they can get free transportation to medical appointments through TransDev. And some of those Medicaid recipients can get non-medical rides if they qualify. So I just wanted to throw out there some other nonprofit free transportation options in Northern Colorado. And that's what I've got. So thank you.
Any other roundtable updates? And then we'll wrap things up and meet again on May 20th. See you next time.